Hi guys, we're going to be learning Visual Basic, which is one of the other courses that we've got in our course, and we'll try and keep it as simple as is possible. I'll be explaining how Visual Basic works, what Visual Basic does for us. It's a little bit simpler, although we'll still need to apply object-oriented principles and also having to learn as we proceed. So this is our Visual Basic. I had already started it, and it's Visual Basic 2015. If I come here, you can see it's 2015, and these are the packages that we can actually work with. So try and work with all elements or all aspects that have been provided for us using Visual Basic. So let's get started. We go on File and we create new. We want to select a new project, and with our project we want a Windows Forms application, and we want to create a project that we'll be able to maybe work with throughout our lectures and be able to do certain things. Okay, so we can call our project learning, like that. That's what we can call our project. We click on OK, and then this is what we got in our project learning. So with our project learning now, we want to be able to understand what Visual Basic is all about. This is what we find when we open our first project. The first thing on the left here, we've got a Server Explorer, a toolbox, data sources. We've got our Form 1 design. We've got our output. We've got our error list as well, where if we've got any errors, it will tell us what the error is. We've got build and IntelliSense, which pretty much means anything that we've got in our code, it can actually give us suggestions and ways to actually handle how we do whatever we do using our Visual Basic. So we've got messages as well, warnings and errors. On the left, on the right hand side, it's the extreme right hand side, we've got a Solution Explorer, which tells us all the attributes that we've got in our project. So that then means we've got project learning, project 1, we've got all the components that we find. We've got a team explorer, where if we're working with a team, we can be able to connect to a repository online. And on that repository, we can be able to update whatever we would have done. We've got our class view, which gives us the classes that we're actually working with in our code. So potentially, if you want to work with your classes as well, you can be able to view more on classes there. At the same time, now we've got our properties, which then means we can get properties of any object that we've got here. So if I click on each of the objects, I'll be able to see the properties that we've got for each and every element that we've got. Okay, so for example, if I select any of the properties, I'll be able to switch between different things. So for example, if I select my Form 1, I can see my Form 1. I've got this as well. Through selecting my properties, I then got to my code for my Form 1. So this then becomes my code for my Form 1. This then becomes my code for my designer. Okay, still on the Form 1, but now we've got a designer and we've got the code. So at the same time now, each and every element that we change, we might need to take note that if we don't reference it properly, we'll get errors along the way. So we can also rename certain things, like for example, there's the form text where I can say welcome. Okay, This then means I change that particular text to be equal to welcome. And I would have gone to the form 1 object. I then come to properties, I look under text, I put the text, which is welcome. Okay, so that then means we are done with our basic intro. At the same time now, we would want to also do like we've done in the previous programming language. There is this start, which is similar to what we had in our code blocks. If I click on start, I'll be able to compile everything that is there, and I'll actually create my welcome form, where this is what we are seeing in the designer, this is what we are seeing in our executable or in our file. At the same time, I can pretty much close it. After closing it, I can be able to go to my location, which is where this project is stored. I go to project learning. I can be able to see all the contents that's in my project learning, including an executable file, which will be stored in one of these folders. Let me just verify. Okay, I can't seem to find where it's stored, but let's see if it's, yes, this is the application that we're looking for. So it'll be stored in your project learning, OBJ debug, and you can get the executable that gives us whatever it is that we would have created. So let's add more context to this particular learning. So we said this is an object. So we can also be able to add more objects to our project learning. So let's say, for example, we want to have some stuff. Okay, we can have a text box, or rather two text boxes, one on the left, one on the right. We do not change what these text boxes have, but we put them side by side. Okay, this then means we've got text box 1, we've got text box 2. We also need an action, so we can put a button like that. So our button then comes right next to our two text boxes. So we can then call it process like that. That then becomes our button. These are our text boxes. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to be able to add code to this particular form. So this becomes our form, and these become our objects that we want to be able to use based on our calculations or things that we want to be able to work with. Okay, so if I double click on the form where I've got my button, I can be able to go to the back end of my code, or where my code is actually stored. Okay, so here I can now be able to state whatever it is that I want to be able to do. So let's say I want to process the two, or to process something. I come back here, I've got text box 1, which is the first object, text box 2, which is the next object, and I've got process, which is the third object. So what I would want to do is, for me to be able to actually work with these items, I then need to know what each element does. Okay, so I would want to be able to say, before all of this, maybe I can add a variable, okay, where I say to create a variable, I do it as follows: dim num as integer. Okay, I then say I want to be able to get my integer to give me a specific value. So I then say num is equal to text box 1 dot text plus text box 2 dot text, like that. And then to display this, I can then do it as follows. I can create a message box dot show, which is a function that exists within our Visual Basic. So a quick rundown on what I've just done. We have created a form. On our form, we've put 3 objects, which is 2 text boxes and 1 button. We go back to the back end of our code. I create a variable called num as integer, and then num is equal to textbox1.text, and that is at to textbox2.text. And then to display the value of num, we simply say messagebox.show in brackets num. Okay, so let's just run this and see what it gives us. Okay, we've got our 2 text boxes and our process. So if I click on process, it will not give okay. I was waiting for it to finish. If I click on process, it's supposed to give me a error. It says invalid cast exception was handled. It gives the explanation of the error. And the main reason why we're getting this is we did not put any text into our text boxes. So that's perfectly normal. We can close it and start it again. Let's say we put values now. We click on process, and then now we put 4 and 5. We put process. It gives us 4, 5, which pretty much is not what we were hoping for, but at least it gave us the result that we were looking for. So in other words, we're then saying our text box 1 is where we've got our 4, our text box 2 is where we've got our 5, our num is our variable that is supposed to get the values of text box 1 and text box 2. Our message box.show is what came out when we clicked on process, and this is what our message box would look like. It will just give us the value of whatever it is that we would have processed in the 2 text boxes. So in essence, that's how we can work with our text boxes and our button, including our code. Okay, so we can close this and add a bit more. So with Visual Basic, there's a lot more to learn, but we'll try and create small chunks of our code and of our designing so that we can see how most of these things work and can be used for the benefit of our learning. Okay, so this is pretty much how we work with our Visual Basic. At the same time, we create aspects or elements based on what we are hoping to achieve. So when it comes to our toolbox, we cannot see it if we're in code, or rather when we're looking at the code, we would need to select the design and then we come back to our toolbox to see whatever is there. If we are at the code section, our toolbox will be empty. Our data sources, we can be able to view them. Our Server Explorer, we can be able to view it, but we won't be able to use our toolbox. But at the same time, we can come back to our design and we'll be able to view what is on our toolbox. So with our toolbox, we've got an array of elements that we'll be able to work with. that if you look at other projects, you can be able to see that, oh, I've seen this before, I've seen this before, I've seen this before. So it makes it a little bit easier in that when you're creating a project, when you're creating something, you can then be able to modularize it into different sections or different attributes that you can be able to plant or to use as part of our learning. And as we proceed in the next few lessons, we'll be working with more practical things. So I think what would make it easier is if we can create a project that is full of different attributes or different processes that we can work with, so that we learn and we understand and we master the art of coding with Visual Basic.